So many times as homeschool moms, we fall into that trap where we feel like we are not doing the right thing. A couple years ago, I probably would have thought, oh, I would never want to do that, and let all of us kind of go a little bit out of our comfort zone. We never would have known that. And I didn't know how to find the freedom that is one of the greatest gifts of homeschooling. Hi everyone, I'm Michelle and this is A Common Life. I'm a homeschooling mom of 5 kids ages 4 through 12. And I thought I would sit down and just share a few do's and don'ts of homeschooling in your first year. My first do is to establish a routine. It is very important to kind of create a rhythm and a flow for your homeschool. Not just for your homeschool, but basically for your entire day. How does your day begin? How do you fit homeschooling into that schedule? What if you have extracurricular activities or appointments or co-ops or things like that? Determine what your rhythm or your schedule of the day-to-day and the week-to-week will be for your homeschool. But don't lock yourself into a schedule. I think that was one of the worst things that I did when I was first starting out with homeschooling. I kind of locked myself into the schedule and I didn't know how to find the freedom that is one of the greatest gifts of homeschooling. If you allow yourself to have a rhythm or a routine rather than a minute-by-minute schedule, it creates a very nice balance for your family. There are many days where you are going to basically spend the entire day homeschooling, and on those days you will find that you have a lot more structure. But then there are going to be other days where you have things that come up, like appointments or field trips, or you have a co-op. And so your schedule will be completely changed for those days. So it's very good to start out your first homeschool year with an idea that you want to be a little bit more free-flowing, a little bit more flexible, rather than kind of boxing yourself in and forcing yourself to fit into this schedule. My next tip is to look up homeschool co-ops and schools and groups in your area. There are so many things right now. I mean, homeschooling is just really taking off. So you can look online or on Facebook or things like that to try to find some groups in your area. But don't feel like you have to join one. I know that there are a lot of people who worry about socialization of their children, but just in your normal day-to-day, your children will interact with lots of children, lots of adults, and it isn't really that big of a deal. But if you live maybe off, in the country or something like that, where you don't see people as often, it might be a nice thing to do, but don't feel like you have to do it. You do not have to be a part of a group. You do not have to be in a co-op or anything like that to be a very successful homeschooler. My next tip is to make time for outdoor play. It is so important to take large chunks of time during your day to let your children play. Or if it's rainy or if it's cold, you can let them play inside. But definitely take large chunks of time, even for your older children. Make sure they have that time to play. For us, a lot of times we will let them play in the morning before school starts. We always take an hour break at lunch for a little lunch and recess at the same time. And then I let them play again in the afternoon. And don't feel like you need to do school in a classroom, at a table, at a desk. You don't have to do that. That isn't what homeschool has to be. Yes, in other schools, that's how they make it work because they're managing lots of different children. But for you, you don't have to do that. If your children work really well in their bedroom or on the couch or outside or in a hammock, let them do it. It is fun for them. It is relaxing for them. Homeschooling should be a very positive experience. It shouldn't be drudgery. It should be something that they enjoy. So don't feel like you have to put them in a classroom or at a table or at a desk. There are lots of different ways that you can homeschool. My next tip is to try out different types of curriculum. You don't need to feel like you have to do just one type of curriculum or do a box curriculum. For us, it has always been best for us to kind of pick from different places. And that's just what we have always enjoyed. And there are lots of ways to get samples of different curriculum online. So go to the different websites of what you're looking for and check out the description of each of the items. And usually you can find samples. And that's a really great way to kind of determine if it is something that you want to use. But don't go overboard and buy it all. I made a huge mistake in our first year of homeschooling where I bought just tons of curriculum that I never even used. My son is now going into 7th grade, and last, I would say April, I pulled out some curriculum that I had bought for him to use in 1st grade that I never even used. So I started using it with my 2nd grader this year. So definitely do not go overboard and just buy everything just because it looks good. Because honestly, you're going to constantly find new curriculum that looks good, but you don't need to buy it all. So start small, pick out lots of different things that would work for your family, and then kind of wait and see how it works before you would go ahead and buy anything extra. My next tip is to go out of your comfort zone and try new things. Sometimes as a homeschool mom, we think, oh, that's horrible. I would never want to do that. It makes me nervous. But it's fun. It's really, really fun. Just recently, our friend came over and dissected a pig's heart with our kids. Now, a couple years ago, I probably would have thought, oh, I would never want to do that. I wouldn't even want a pig's heart in my house. Or we dissected owl pellets or at the end of last year, and I didn't really like it. But the pig's heart was really cool and it was really interesting, and some of my kids really, really loved it. And if I hadn't have allowed myself to kind of go out of my comfort zone, or actually a little bit force them to go out of their comfort zones, we never would have learned all that we learned. We would never have seen how one of my children is just very proficient in this area. So maybe he's going to be a doctor or a veterinarian someday. But if I hadn't allowed that situation to come about in our home and let all of us kind of go a little bit out of our comfort zone, we never would have known that. So always try new things with your kids. Maybe go to different places or museums, or meet up with different groups, which I know for a lot of us introverted homeschool moms, it is hard to go out and meet new people. But do it. Go out of your comfort zone and try new things. But don't doubt yourself or your decision to homeschool. So many times as homeschool moms, we fall into that trap where we feel like we are not doing the right thing, or we're doing wrong by our children, or we're not doing the best, or we're not a competent teacher. Just so many different doubts fill our mind. But know that you are the best teacher for your children. Even if you aren't the best, classroom teacher, you are still the best teacher for your child. And that's a really, really important thing to remember. As long as things are going well within your homeschool and everyone is basically happy, obviously we all have bad days from time to time, but as long as things are basically happy and your children are learning and growing, you have a successful homeschool. You are doing a good job. So do not doubt your decision. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy homeschooling videos, please subscribe to my channel by clicking that red button down below, and you can also click the little bell that's next to it if you want notifications. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.